Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the beautiful circuit of Monza for round 5 of the Le Mans Ultimate Championship, brought to you by Raceface.Pro. And joining me in the box after many letters to try and pull him back and lots of milkshakes later, Cameron Bastos. Cameron, welcome to the beautiful track of Monza.
It's great to be back, Stephen, after a bit of a detour for myself to Le Mans, but it's great to be back and I'm ready for some action tonight. I'm eager to see what's going to happen.
It's going to be an exciting one. But you had a trip around the track, so just take us through what was it like and what can the crowd expect on our track guide.
Welcome to the Autodromo Nacional Monza, a place where speed, history and passion collide. Nestled in the royal parklands just north of Milan, Monza isn't just a racetrack, it's a temple. Built in 1922, it stands as one of the oldest and most revered circuits in motorsport history, a cathedral of speed that has challenged the greatest drivers for over a century. For fans and drivers alike, Monza is a sacred ground. With its long straights, sweeping corners and minimal downforce demands, it rewards raw power, precision braking and fearless commitment. This is home of the Tifosi, Ferrari's passionate fans who turn the grandstands into a sea of red and create one of the most electrifying atmospheres in all of Formula One. But Monza's significance goes far beyond just fast laps. It's a living symbol of racing tradition, from Fangio to Schumacher, from Senna to Hamilton. The legends of the sports have all danced through these famous corners, Lesmo, Ascari and Parabolica, each leaving a mark on its legacy. So, before we head to the track, let's take a moment to appreciate where we are. Monza, historic, iconic, and always unapologetically fast.
Absolutely great stuff. I've got to say, Monza going to be one of those interesting ones. Turn 1 is going to be a tricky can of fish to deal with, as many of the drivers are going to have to contend with some side-by-side action and also very big in concertina effects. I think that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. And heading into Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, especially with tyres cold, Cam, I think we're in for a very interesting fight through the field. And honestly, I've got to say, I'm thoroughly looking forward to the incredible circuit of Monza. But with that being said, your game plan, what would you do if you are out there with the rest of our competitors?
Well, as we are starting here from the track, as the driver takes us through, it's a long back straight there as you get yourself mentally ready in order to go for that final corner, Parabolica. This is where the make or break app is to get that top end speed as you go onto the front stretch there. Drivers normally go a bit wide in order to open up the corner more, get on throttle a bit earlier, gather as much speed as this will launch you, and it will be a significant time gain. So run wide all the way to the outside, and it's just flat out pretty much. You're going to bull speed, you're going to be having to look for very small brake markers on the side of your left-hand side. You want to go and brake around the 170 mark, 175, and bang down through the gears all the way from 6 down into second, maybe even first, and then it's a quick flick from right to left. Bit of throttle here and there just in order to get the nose to point a bit right, and to take a look here on how the driver goes and just moves it around in order to go there. The car really hard under braking, slows down significantly, and it is a bit tricky. Take too much curb and you do get spun around, as I found out in my own personal laps round. Then it's a bit of a flat out section here. Drivers can go side by side, but be careful. If you push the other driver out wide, it will be in the ground, in the gravel, and you will be penalized. And then it is a hard braking point all the way for the second chicane. You want to brake almost at the 150, almost at the orange point on the right-hand barrier. Quick flick to the left, quick flick to the right. Avoid the curbs again, because guess what? You will be thrown out, and if you cut too much of it, you will be penalized. And the drivers do not want that. It's quite a significant penalty that the drivers will incur there. And then it's a quick two right-handers, Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2. A very quick dab on the brakes for Lesmo 1, down the gears, third, maybe second, a bit of the trail brake in order to get the nose pointed, and then back on throttle, third, fourth, hard on the brakes again, trail braking again, and flick it in to right hand in order to get a proper exit. Careful of exit on the exit and running too wide. You will be punished, and the gravel is not your friend. You will have a lot of wheel spin, and now it's on a long straight all the way to the Ascari chicane. Iconic, very tricky, hard on the brakes at the little off-road there, then third over that little curb on the inside left, then gentle on the throttle, watch out for the exit curb. Hit too much, you get unsettled, run wide, and the car will throw you into the wall. So it is a bit more of a dance of playing smart, playing careful, so you do not go and run wide. Throttle input will be very key at this point section. Then drivers can breathe for a little bit. it's a long back straight all the way to Parabolica. They are able to sort out where they want. They can make their move into Parabolica. It's one of the most iconic points in order to make a dive bomb more of a make move, but it's hard on the brakes just after the 100-meter board, down the gears into third, trail braking, and then just as you hit that orange marker on the right hand side of the barrier, full throttle, keep it as close to the inside. Drivers following close behind might be careful that the driver in front might be going into the pits, and then he's across the line for an iconic lap around Monza. This will be a tricky one, especially that final corner. If drivers are too focused on the target up front, they might be followed into the pits or might even meet a pit wall. So be of a tricky one, but drivers be aware. Keep it clean. You have a good victory lap. You have a good race. And other than that, I think we're in good for some good iconic racing. Steve, I'm eager for tonight, and drivers, all the best tonight there at Monza. Forza Italia, Forza Ferrari. Let's bring it home.
There we go. Absolutely great stuff. I actually remember way back in the 90s when Michael Schumacher actually went and preached to the drivers saying, listen, let's rather not overtake each other through turn one, and landed up with one of the Jordans getting taken out. Let's take a look at our hypercar standings. It is Jan Kleinans with 96 points leading out the field, with Chris Stolz in second place on 75 points, David Nell on 69 points. Jeffrey LaRue runs on 55 points with Lionel Clue on 36 points. Likes of Jean Verveers runs with 30 points, Jody Seidman 23, Mark Jens van Rensburg 21 points, Arno Kraus on 17, and Henke van der Berg rounding out our top 10 in with 8 points. Taking a look at our GT3s, however, it is Brandon Kruger with 96 points, and this is after not having good luck last week with his pit limiter. Hopefully, it's all resolved. He's getting chased down by Bernard Barkes, and in second place with 82 points. Johan Blicknotes on 47 points. Mac Roth with 42 points. So really right there for the top three. And Julian Brings ending with 32 points. Only 1 point ahead of Jason Farmer. Daniel De Villiers with 25 points. Dennis Gillett on 22 points. Aiden Russell with 15. And Jeremiah Vellatham ending with 13 points. Here for round 5 of the championship. 7 rounds of the Lamar Ultimate Championship here at Raceface.Pro. And honestly, I'm rather excited for it because drivers are already starting to put in those qualifying times, already starting to get themselves out and around the circuit, hoping to make it all work here tonight. And I've got to say, rather excited for the race. How is this going to work out? Who's going to be able to charge their way to the top? We have got quite a variety of vehicles here. For anyone that's racing the Ferraris, I think they've got a lot of pressure on their plate.
Oh, well, absolutely, Stephen. As you mentioned in the track walk, the Ferrari is iconic here. The sea of red after a Ferrari podium. It's the home of the Tifosi. It's where every Ferrari driver wants to win and make a name for themselves and just be like, listen, I won on Ferrari's home track. It's not something that normally happens. And it's a very difficult thing for drivers to accomplish. But what is more in the back of my mind, Stephen, is the likes of the hypercars. These cars rely a lot on energy recovery when they do their braking, and Monza does not have a lot of hard braking. You mentioned it earlier when me and you were just looking around at the cars earlier tonight, and we just said the driver's going to have a bit of a struggle in order to get those tires first off up to temp, and then secondly also in order to generate and recover enough energy so that the battery does not get depleted.
This is going to be a very interesting time for the hypercars, but not only for the hypercars, for our GT3 cars. They have to contend with the traffic on this high-speed straight. Last thing you want to do is get shoved offline. That being said, a couple of new drivers coming into the fray and joining us this evening, and it's fantastic to see quite a few coming in. And out there, Paul the Wall Fenter in the Lexus, and actually we do have a driver cam for him as well. There we go. There's Mr. Wall Fenter, and I do want to point out he even has a camera just for his socks, purely for the likes of Elias Musa. I kid you not, there it is. There is foot cam just to show. He's got his old racing boots on that he used to use for the likes of Formula V's when he was racing back in the day. That being said, we have to also, just a quick one to the likes of Paul and Logistical Nightmare Racing. For those that haven't heard the news, they unfortunately have decided to close their doors for the rest of the year and heading forward. So Lamar Ultimate is unfortunately going to be his race, and he's home for a bit, but likes of Logistical Nightmare Racing in terms of a league is no longer as a PC division. So massive shout out to the Logistical Nightmare PC division. Thank you very much. Been one of the staples in South African sim racing. and thank you for all the memories that you guys have shared, and also being a friend and ally, and just being part of the Raceface history and supporting us through it all. And we look forward to seeing what you do in the future and your future endeavors as a race team and not as a league anymore. So big sad one to that. But that being said, we do have a special prize, well, a special surprise for them coming up. But in any case, that being said, let's move on to our current race, well, the current qualifying. Crystals leads out the top of the pack with a 134.8 on his last one. Lionel Clue sitting in second place. Johan Kleinans, followed by LaRue, Henko van der Berg, Jody Seidman back out on circuit. Good to see him out there. Devot Nell and Danny Sternkamp going and rounding out our hypercars at the moment, as Sean Lerero, Mark van Rensburg, and Brandon Grissel have not put a time out on the board. Brandon Kruger goes and leads out our GT3s with Paul Fenter in second place. Darren Miller running in third with Bernard Barkhuizen. Theo Govinsamy is running in fifth of our GT3s. And so far, just take a look at this. Brandon Kruger did 150.045. And our leader of our hypercars, a 134.8. There is a significant difference in time and pace. That's for sure. And these are going to be the things that the drivers are going to have to critically think about for their race. This circuit leads to having a lot of slipstreaming, but hard on the anchors to get the passes done.
Absolutely, Steven. I found it quite difficult with my little bit of hot lapping around, getting the car just stable. It's a different feeling for especially for us, me and you, having to jump between, having experience between the different sims. So it's some characteristics going over, but some don't. But what shocks me the most, really, and it's a bit of it brings a smile to my face, as we give that final salute to LNR. Is Paul going out his first race with us at LMU and puts it second in the lone Lexus, telling people, no, third, but telling, well, fourth actually, telling people
Nathan
that
Watson Miller
he just dropped it. But the thing is, Paul coming out there and showing that he is not just another driver filling the grid. He's here to show what he's made of, and it's great to see it. It brings a massive smile to my face. I'm going to say, Paul the Wall, show the wall, make a move, and keep people behind. So good luck.
Commentators curse. No, well, that's it.
Sorry, Paul, you can get me now.
There you go, there's Paul. We can actually get him on the comms. Paul, we're just going to let you know, you're currently showing on cam. I don't know if you want to wave to everyone at home. And while you're heading out of the pits, yes, we spoke about you, and just as you did that, you lost control. So well done. Big
you can blame me, Paul. So apologies for that.
Absolutely great stuff. Well, just a little bit of information there and a bit of a show smile. Absolutely fantastic. There. Moving on, however, we've got to take a look at the race at hand. Bernard Barkhuizen is looking to take the fight to the championship. Remember, he's in championship contention to take the win overall. And unfortunately, he's got to take on his own teammate, Brandon Kruger. So he leads out, but not by much. Take a look at that. 0.5 of a second is where the fight is going to be. And Bernard Barkhuizen towing back to pits. Paul Fenter losing it into the dirt yet again. Kruger still trying to put a good time on the board. He got a 150.045 as it stands. Chris Stoles also running second in the championship. Needs to have a win here tonight. Cannot be on the back foot anymore. Mark van Rensburg is up into second place, which is always fantastic to see the Toyota. And so far, quickest in Sector 1 this time around. Can he make it work in Sector 2? Looks like the Toyota Gazoo Racing Hypercar is on rails tonight.
Yeah, maybe Toyota has taken the Italian track away from the Italians and made it a Japanese track here. But it's good. Ooh, I just made a fumble there. But it's good to see the Toyota back up to pace, and Mark van Rensburg really showing it. Earlier, one of the drivers made a bit of a joke towards me, asking if I'm a Ferrari supporter. I said no, I'm a Red Bull and a Red Bull supporter in F1 and a Toyota supporter in WC. And they just said it must be a very tough year for me. Yes, it is, but luckily I've got LMU and I've got drivers like Mark van Rensburg to really give me a bit of hope somehow and make the year a bit easier. But it's great to hear Toyota really fighting there, a PB, personal best, in the middle sector there, but still the fastest overall in the first sector by 0.094 as he crosses the line and goes fastest. No?
No,
Oh.
he unfortunately wasn't able to beat Crystals. That went and put himself right to the top. Crystals only just managed to put a time in of a 133.980. Mark van Rensburg, a 135.081. So he, despite being incredibly quick in his own personal times, he wasn't able to beat that target lap time. But that being said, a massive, massive welcome to you all out in the virtual grandstands. Glad to have you guys here, and good to see them all joining in. Hansi Myberg, one of our admins, joining in. Antonio Gamble, like always. I mean, I've got to say, Gamble has been across the world. I go and see her pitching up at all the different races, going supporting Jason Farmer. After that, then it's Griffin Sim Racing, but that's only after the fact. Then we have got the likes of Werner Skuman coming off the back of racing out at Daytona in the GT3s. You were actually there a little bit earlier. But that being said, Devon Null comes across the line in 5th place. Bernard Barkhuizen still leads out of our GT3s. Paul Fenter is lying in 2nd. Brandon Kruger lying down in 3rd, trying to put the hammer down and really give it everything he's got. Runs out wide. Now he's trying to keep the power absolutely planted to get his good run for the lap, as there's only 5 minutes left of this qualifying session.
Yeah, now is really when the drivers have to open up the taps, really put pedal to the metal and just give it their all. It's find out where those track limits are and also which you can get away with. But because 5 minutes is not enough around a track like Monza, especially when you're really trying to get the beta over your opponents. Especially between the battle of the BMWs, Bernard Barkhuizen and Brandon Kruger. These two have been going at each other the entire season, and I have a feeling the party might be a bit spoiled by the likes of another Japanese manufacturer with the likes of a Lexus. And we all know a Lexus is just an undercover Toyota.
Well, we got to talk about Chris Doles putting in the fastest lap time. He's into the 33s. Kleinan's got a 134.5, so a little bit closer by 0.6 of a second, which is great. But now needs to try and figure out where he can make that move. Now include down in 4th place, along with LaRue. Second of our Ferraris that's out there, and they of course are bottoming out into the kitty litter and now having to just get towed back. They're able to utilize the battery a little bit more in a qualifying mode here, which means a lot of power to those wheels, as we do see likes of Nell able to do his fastest lap time of the race, of qualifying, puts himself into 1st place with a 135.385. LaRue down into 6th, will be looking to fire back as quick as possible. We do have Vietia Buerta out there in the Ford Mustang. He's hoping to have a bit of fun. Dion Cup down in 21st. Julian Brains, who is waiting in pit lane. Jason Farmer still trying to put a time on the board for the McLaren, something you're very familiar with. But one person that hasn't put a time out at all has been Johan Erasmus. He is yet to put a time on the board. 29 cars to start, and he's going to be starting right at the back of the field. Jason Luck is second last from there in the Porsche. He did set a 2-minute 5.0, hoping that he can really bring it a little bit closer, a little bit more towards the front, and see if it's going to work out for him.
Now, I'm kind of curious about the strategy the likes of Johan Erasmus is putting. I mean, we all know as sim racers that, and even in real world racing, Turn 1 Monza is quite unanimously known for absolute carnage, chaos.
It's fun.
Drivers braking early. It's fun unless you ruin your race quite early on. But drivers will be slowing down early, not try to ram into the drivers in front of them. But that doesn't mean the driver behind you has the same idea. It's like, free position. It will be a bit of what's going to happen, but we do know that in the driver's briefing, the stewards have warned all drivers to respect lap 1, turn 1, in order to have a good show of racing. So let's just hope the drivers took that to heart. Otherwise, the stewards will be coming down on them like an Italian would on you if you ever were to break a piece of spaghetti.
Yep, you just grab it and snap it down the middle and see what happens. It's always fun. I highly recommend it to all that love Italy. Clay Nell running 2nd and 3rd of the field at the moment, doing a fantastic job. It is a Peugeot, Ferrari, and Toyota lineup for the hypercar for our top 5. Barkhuizen in the BMW, splitting the BMWs with Kruger and Watt. And right behind all of them in 5th, Daniel de Villiers. who is trying to put the hammer down as much as possible to get back into the fight. Now, a lot of the drivers did miss out on Sebring last week, but now they're looking to make it all work here at Monza. And see if it's going to turn out a great time for them. But with only 1 minute 15 left on the board, it's time to put the hammer down. You can see, like Daniel de Villiers, he knows that he needs to do everything he can. He's been beaten up by Nathan Watt. He's down into 6th place. He was down in Sector 1, up in Sector 2. Can he make Sector 3 work out for him to beat a 1 minute 50.143? He has to try and get the run here. Opens full taps with that mighty V8. And really trying to give it everything he's got. Brings it nice and close to the pit wall to just try and shorten the circuit out. Comes across the line. And has he done it?
Remains 6th. Unfortunately, remains 6th with 150.55. Not what he wanted out of that lap, unfortunately, Steven, as the Nathan Watt, his personal best was a 150.143. And that's his closest competitor at this point in order to move up. So not being able to really pull the ponies all under that bonnet in order to really get the power down of what is needed.
Well, they still have a little bit of time. For those that haven't crossed the line, it is a mad dash to it, as we do see Johan Kleinans unfortunately puts it into the dirt. He was up in Sector 1, but not by much, trying to bring it back through the second Lesmo, and now qualifying is done and dusted. So if you haven't got a time on the board, you need to make it work now. Henk van den Berg also trying everything he can to utilize the momentum. Bernard Barkhuizen managed to get across the line just before the flag dropped for the end of qualifying. He's looking to still put the hammer down and try and improve that 140.040. Kruger in second place was unable to move up. Paul Wolf-Enter decides that he's not going to be able to do it, as we do see Daniel de Villiers up in Sector 2, hoping that he can get it going through Ascari down towards the back straight. It is hammer and tongs for the mighty Mustang down into 7th place, as Darren Miller, his own teammate, going and dropping him further down the order. Vietia Buerta will sit in 8th place at the moment. Michael van Rooyen also trying to put a time on the board with the Aston Martin, hoping to make it stick. As we do go cut back to Daniel de Villiers. Has he done enough to try and improve? A 150.502 was his last lap time, and it comes across. Unfortunately, unable to improve on that one.
Also being beaten out by his own teammate there, as we get the last of the drivers who were able lock up in order to get the car to stop there from Henku, but really the last bit of drivers who really want to who got lucky enough to get another lap in. As we look at Michael van Rooyen up in the first sector, down in the middle sector quite a lot. Unfortunately, not able to move up on his time and will remain 9th.
Yeah, 9th of the GT3s, 20th on the start line. Dion Cup also finishing up. We'll start 12th of the GT3s as we get ready to rock and roll. Drivers will be looking forward to all the amazing action here at Monza. And I hope you guys are ready for some great racing. A massive, massive welcome to you all. I've got to say, taking a look to the grandstands, we have got so many people ready to have some fun with us here, Cam. It's going to be an exciting one. And I do think we're in for a race and a half, and our spectators out there wearing all sorts of colors. We have the Griffin Sim Racing team coming up in full force here. We've got Pandacity in purple as well. We have got so many different drivers. We've got the Stingers Racing that's turned one of the grandstands absolutely yellow. I think it's for the customer Ferrari team of the Hypercars, as we do see the likes of Devil Nell's car just lurking there. Bit of a Stingers look to it, having the yellow and red and black.
And absolutely, Stephen, and it's great to see some of our amazing spectators there in the grandstands, as we heard the cue from our race director telling the drivers and teams that they are allowed now to exit pits and go to the starting grid. And mentioning of that,
Crystals will be starting in first place. Johan Kleinans in second. Deelwoud Null, Mark van Rensburg, Lionel Klue, followed by Jeff LaRue, Henko van den Berg, Jody Seidman, Danny Steenkamp, along with Sean Larera and Brandon Gressel will start of our Hypercars. But you've got our GT3s coming up to give us a bit of a look there.
No, it's a great tight field that we have here for our GT3s as we head over to them. And taking pole in GT3s is the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen, with second lining up behind them will be Brandon Kruger, and alongside them will be Jan Bluchnet, making up our top 3 for our GT3s. Behind them we have Paul Fainter, followed by Nathan Watt, and then we have the 2 PWSR cars, Darren Miller and Daniel de Villiers. Those two have a unfinished score that they need to settle. And then close behind them we have Viete Berta, Michael van Rooyen, Theo Govindasamy, Jason Farmer, Dion Kapp, and then behind them we have Julian Brains, Ulrich de Jager, Rob van der Heever, and Mac Roth, our local American, racing with us. And then at the back of the grid we have the likes of Jason Luck and Johan Erasmus, who pulled a shocking strategy by not putting in a qualifying time. Will that play into his favor? Will that not play into his favor? We will see tonight and see how turn 1 ends up for our drivers as they are finally checking up all final changes.
Well, that being said, Mac Roth is looking to have a great time out here. Going and fighting out for the championship, it's all going to be running order for him to make it work. But as you said, drivers getting ready to get going and drivers hoping to make this work. So, that being said, first to go across the line will be Crystals, looking to put the pressure on early. He's going to be feeling it from the likes of Johan Kleinans. They'll be launching a monster attack towards the sharp end of the field. The different classes will start to split. They'll have a little bit of time between them, but it is going to be Crystals and Johan Kleinans. These hypercars are not having warm tires at all. They're having to warm them through the brakes right now and get themselves ready. There's no tire warmers as per the WEC rules, and Crystals and Johan Kleinans are going to find that out very quickly. David Nell, Mark van Rensburg all lining up as we start to get going on this monstrous field. 29 cars lined up, ready to go as they rocket towards turn 1. Crystals holds the inside line, but is he going to have enough? Kleinans trying everything he can. Devon Nell looking to put his nose in. Mark van Rensburg will look to battle their way through. It is a twist. It is a turn. It's a 3-car, and contact into turn 1. And unfortunately, it looked like Devon Nell got the worst of it down into 5th place and had the likes of LaRue getting into his side. We go and take a look at our GT3s coming up. Brandon Kruger has got the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen flat on the back of him. Blucknote having pressure from Nathan Watt a little bit further back. Darren Miller and Paul Fenter wait to get going as a little bit of a lockup comes from Brandon Grissel as they dive in through the second of the chicanes. It is mental up and down through the field from our hypercars to our GT3s.
Absolutely, Stephen. That first turn incident that we spoke about earlier, fortunately a bit of a lock-up there for the number 50 red, well, one of the number 50 red Ferraris, and unfortunately taking out one of the 83 yellow Ferraris. I think that was a bit of a revenge for Lamar that happened in real world. Factory team saying, you stole our victory, and now it's a tight battle. I kept an eye, off goes Jan Kleinans to the barrier, and Ascari. That is damage on the front end, and that is gonna leave a mark.
Well, that was Crystals having a little bit of contact with him, and unfortunately shoving the Ferrari right into the wall. Jeff LaRue will now see this and take an opportunity to go a little bit further back. Lionel Clue having a bit of a problem with Henko van der Berg up on the inside. Van der Berg getting a loss of traction there, and Henko trying everything he can to battle it back side by side. It is Toyota and Ferrari who's opening up full taps at the moment as they go and power their way through into attack mode. Henko van der Berg going right into the back of Lionel Clue, trying to get him off the inside line, couldn't get it done, and Lionel missing out turn 1, loses out the momentum. And now Dennis Steenkamp, who has been keeping a close eye on the competition with that Jota Porsche, has an opportunity to get involved as Lionel Clue has rejoined. He's got a slowdown and loses out 2 positions in the running order. A little bit further back, Bernard Barkhuizen has got a bit of pressure from the likes of Johan Blucknote, trying to tail him a little bit as our GT3s start to open up a little bit of a gap between them. But it is Michael van Rooyen, Dean Cup, that are hoping to get a little bit more of a run. Further down through the field, Mac Roth and Jason Farmer are now on top of one another, followed by Jason Farmer's teammate Rob van der Heever and Ulrich de Jager will look to try and put a pressure on him. But I do not see the likes of Paul Fenter going and battling too hard at the moment as he waits it out behind Darren Miller as they charge on. This is a 40-minute race, and all the drivers are just doing everything they can to try and generate as much heat into these tires and brakes to make it work for them.
Stephen, unfortunately, Paul losing a position there at the start, just dropping behind the likes of Darren Miller. But now we've got a Porsche being hunted down by a Lexus as well as a Mustang, the two giants out there on the field. So who's going to be the best? Who's going to be able to get it? As we look into the, we just got a note back from Nathan Watt's team saying, unfortunately, Nathan's force feedback is not working. That's going to be another issue that the driver, Nathan Watt, will be having to fight in the BMW there, not really knowing how the car's going to react, what the car's going to do, which makes it a bit difficult as the drivers have to rely a lot of what the tires are going to feel like out there in this weather. So all the best there, Nathan. I know how it feels. I do not recommend it for anybody out there, but we will keep an eye on how he progresses as he's still comfortably in fourth, just holding off that position, hoping that the three in front will have a bit of an accident.
Well, that being said, for people at home that aren't quite sure, force feedback, what does that mean in a sim? Because when you're driving a car, you got all this motion going on, you're feeling all these G-forces. In a sim, you don't seem to have that unless you're willing to pay a serious amount of money.
Absolutely. We have multiple different technologies for us as sim racers. We've got the gear steering wheels, the belt steering wheels, and then we got our direct drives. So because we do not have a moving car underneath us, we don't really have the ability to understand how the car is going to react. We don't know if the rear is stepping out or if there's grip in the tires. So us as sim racers normally rely a lot on what information we get back from the steering wheel in terms of is the rear, if there's grip in the tires, are we able to throttle out of a corner. So without force feedback, you are semi-driving with your eyes closed, which is a bit of a difficult one. It's a bit of a gamble when you have to take a corner and also when you're braking. So it's a give or take situation. If you are able to maintain it, you're going to be exhausted. So we'll see. And it's not something that any driver would ever want to experience.
Well, a lot of drivers going and opting for that BMW M4 due to being at one of the free cars that you can drive here in LMU. It's either one of the free cars or it's got the highest BOP. I think it's because it's one of the free cars, if I remember correctly, that you can drive.
I believe so, yes, along with the McLaren and the Mustang. Yeah, McLaren and the Mustang. Even though and the Porsche. Porsche is also quite free. I remember driving that when the sim was still in its early access days. So yes, it's quite interesting, and it's nice to see these drivers fight it out, especially the likes between the Aston Martin and the Ferrari that we have here of Dion Cup, alongside the likes of who's our little Ferrari friend there. So looking to my time.
In the Aston Martin has got Dion Cup in the Ferrari with Buerta with the Mustang trying to chase down Mike van Rooyen, going and losing out the position. Didn't have the straight line, but he's going to come battling back, doing everything he can. He's got Buerta, however, putting a lot of pressure on the back of him, looking for any opportunity to get by. And it's going to be side by side once again. Van Rooyen and Cup tried making it work. Buerta getting caught out on the Constantino effect, dropping down, and whoa, big slide for Julian Burns. We just saw it in the camera shot, and Jason Farmer fishing for the position, looking left, looking right, trying to figure out what is going to be the opportunity here to move forward up through the order. Taking a look to our hypercars, it is Sean Loureiro and Jody Seidman having a good go at one another. The Proton competition coloured Porsche dealing with the Toyota of Jody Seidman. Loureiro not having an easy time out there. Jody's going to keep a fair amount of pressure on the back of him, hoping for any opportunity to come on by.
And absolutely, Stephen. I believe Jody was one of our three Toyotas that are currently running out there that unfortunately lost quite a significant amount of time at the start. Good qualifying, unfortunately, but messed up there. As we see the likes of my side, Sean Loureiro just having to cut the chicane there at the second part of the chicane, not able to bring the car rate down and then having a lockup. So these LMDH drivers are really struggling in order to get the cars to stop. I don't think the tires are really up to temp yet, which makes it difficult for them to slow down, especially on such a tight circuit as Monza. We had the likes of Sebring, we had Bahrain, we had Le Mans, those and Spa. Those are long braking zones that the drivers are able to slow down and get the car stopped. As we see the likes of Johan Erasmus. Unfortunately, a lap down already due to the fact that he got a drive through at the start. But the GT3 drive was already beginning to get lapped by the likes of our GTP or LMDH cars. So now this is where traffic management gets a bit difficult there, as Sean Railroad had a bit of a lock up there, which scared the likes of Jody Searman there. Not what you want to see in front of you, Steve. A puff of smoke, and you would be one to know a lot about it, especially when you're behind me and you try to get past me.
Definitely some difficult times out there. Denny Steenkamp also having a bit of pressure with Lionel Clue looking up on the inside, as the Toyotas seem to be quite powerful under braking versus the Porsches, and they constantly have a go at one another, not able to get on by as quickly as they would like. Paul Fenter getting ahead of Darren Miller, and now chasing down the likes of Nathan Watt, who's got quite a gap to the bunch. Daniel De Villiers has closed up the gap, however, as we do see Paul doing everything he can, Miller hunting down for any opportunity to get on by, and he will hope that he can keep the pressure on right through to the end.
Absolutely, Paul will be using the power that is within that Lexus. It's a monster on the straight and really just pulls away if you let it run loose. So that's one of the biggest characteristics of that Lexus. It's an absolute behemoth of a car and absolutely a monster in the straight line. But as you mentioned with the Toyota, Stephen, it's quite powerful under the braking, yes, but it's also quite powerful under acceleration with its four-wheel drive that I believe the car has in. So it does benefit them out of corner exit, as you can see the likes of Jason Farmer trying to go on the inside of Julian Brains, but tucked into the slipstream, as slipstream is king here at Monza. As you see that gap go down, 1/10 remaining there. Who's going to be best off the brakes? Julian covering that inside, making Jason Farmer go the long way around, turning in side by side. Oh, we're going to have a Hamilton Max situation. No, we do not. Bit of a contact, but they still kept on facing the right way and both on track.
Well, that being said, take a look at the traffic. Oh, Mark van Rensburg having contact with that was Jeff LaRue under braking. They were trying to get past the GT3 traffic, and LaRue going into the back. And now that is just given the opportunity. Devil Nell going and smiling ear to ear as he makes his way through. I mean, this is going to be tremendous stuff. Was in a three-way fight. We just cut to it, and it all went wrong. We do have the leaders of our GT3, Brandon Kruger, Bernard Barkhuizen. They will start to realize the hypercars are catching up closer and closer. But so far, we've had a few bumps, barges, and knocks that have changed the races for many, many drivers. And lots of work needing to be done to bring it all back to the front.
Absolutely, Stephen. That's something that we all knew going into Monza is going to happen. It's a tricky track. We won't be able to overtaking opportunities is going to be quite difficult for these drivers, especially on such a small circuit. So there is going to be contacts. Hopefully the likes of Jeff LaRue and Henk van der Berg is still fine and up and running there. No, wait. Have we lost a car, Steven?
It looks like we...
A Toyota.
May have lost one of the Toyotas, as the CEO and Kleinans is there. But it looks like we may have had, unfortunately, one car might have gone into the pits. But we do see Dennis Steenkamp trying to make his way through. Lionel Clue keeping a bit of pressure. And this is where it gets tricky. You've got to try and navigate through the traffic. You've got to understand the GT3s are also in their race as well. So the hypercars have got lots and lots of pressure to make it work. As we do see Lionel Clue. And, oh, that is... I think that is Henko van der Berg. That went all out of shape due to a little bit of contact, and now has lost two more positions further down the order.
Now, as you said that, Stephen, unfortunately, contact between the likes of, I don't know if it's Jason Farmer, is one of the black and orange McLarens, and the Ferrari turning into turn one, and contact, unfortunately. But as you take a look at Brandon Kruger and Bernard Barkhuizen, they are being passed now by our GTP leader, Stalls there. So now they have to play smart. Defending goes Brandon Kruger into the Oscari chicane. Bernard Barkhuizen needs to be patient. He might have lost the lead there a bit, but he has now a long straight all the way into Parabolica where he can set up his move, try and get that position back, and will he be able to do it? He seems a bit too far back now, as the gap is beginning to get larger, and all the way in the back we have Johan Blichnout lurking, waiting for these two to make a mistake, have contact, and we all know that these two have been fighting for the duration of the championship to be crowned the first champion of our LMU Season 1 at Raceface. So now now who's going to be the upper hand in terms of top speed? The gap just seems a bit too big for any move from Bruno Barkhuizen, but it's also going to be who's best off the brakes. Is Bruno Barkhuizen to close the gap under braking? We will see now. But it's going to be a bit of a difficult one. Nope, covers up, decides better, and rather just sticks behind the likes of Brandon Kruger, biding his time, waiting for the right moment to strike.
Well, that being said, one thing we have to bring out is Nathan Watt just celebrated his 18th birthday today. And instead of going out and enjoying time, he's in the car, fighting it out, running in 4th place, eyeing out for a 3rd place with Johan Blicknote. A little bit ahead as he gets overtaken by the Hypercars. He wants to try and maintain as much pace as possible, and he's hoping that Blicknote will get fouled up in the process. Blicknote, however, is waiting for Barkhuizen and Kruger to run into a bit of an issue as they run their race at current. So definitely some tough times out there, but it is a top 4 for the GT3s and BMWs. And 5th place, the likes of Daniel de Villiers out there in the Mustang. He's hoping to push himself out a little bit more. Dion Cup a little bit further back with Viertia Buerta. We do have Johan Kleinans trying to get his way back through the field. And Darren Miller is in pit lane, so is Paul Fenter. So a little bit of work being done to those cars, waiting for their opportunity to get up and get going. So all eyes go down to pit lane of who's going to be able to get out first. We do see Brandon Kruger and Bernard Barkhuizen once again. Side by side they go, and unfortunately one of the Jota Porsches unable to get on by just as yet. Oh! There's Barkhuizen forced out wide, loses out the momentum, and it's a hypercar sandwich that just launches him out towards the outside the corner, through Parabolica, loses a bit of time there, and it's just a launch all the way through. Dion Kopp hoping that he could stay right away from it, but Lionel Klue side by side with Henko van den Berg, late on the brakes, trying to get close to Dennis Steenkamp. A little bit of a lockup between the two of them. Mark van Rensburg gets a bit of an attack on Jody Seidman. Couldn't quite get that pass sorted out before turn 1. It is all getting out of shape here. Drivers fighting tooth and nail at this moment, Cam, and it's going to be a wild, wild one, considering there's 24 minutes left. And the difference between them, Brandon Kruger did a 150.18, as we do see Mark van Rensburg battling to slow the car down, just kisses the wall ever so slightly, just, you know, gentle reminder that knows it's there. He pulls right in front of 1st and 2nd of our GT3s.
Absolutely, Stephen, but that's the thing now that these GTP drivers need to keep in mind, and I don't think it really stuck with them. Yes, you are the faster class car, and you're battling through the likes of these GT3s, as we see the likes of
Blue getting the pass done.
Making a brilliant move there on the likes of Donny Steenkamp there, but now the GTP drivers need to, three-way battle prepping. Yeah, I will return to what I'm saying. Lionel Klue giving the position back to Steenkamp, but that has invited a Henko van den Berg right into this battle. Who's going to be best on the brakes? Sending it, contact, running wide, goodbye. That's 2 positions lost. And never mind, they give it back. Okay, gentleman's agreement. Nicely done there.
One person who's not a gentleman, Henko van den Berg, just won the lottery. He's happy to keep on going. And also, take a look a bit further back as we do see Mark van Rensburg cutting across the nose. We have Lionel Klue losing out to Sean Loureiro, getting the pass done and dusted, locks it up, gets in front of Denny. He's also gained 2 positions because the likes of Denny and Lionel Klue were fighting it between one another. Oh, into the wall. Mark van Rensburg in turn 1. Damage to the nose of the Toyota as he loses out to Brennan Grissel and also loses out to Kleinans. So drivers continue on their bit of momentum. Sean Loureiro, Denny Steenkamp, and Lionel Klue now fighting it out. This is our closest battle out on circuit. Lionel Klue, lying in 7th position, will be absolutely fighting to bring it back.
Absolutely, Stephen, but now the likes of Mark van Rensburg needed to be very cautious there with his rejoin after that turn 1 incident. Our GT3 leaders will not be very happy with that because they're in a fight of their own, and here's a stranded GTP entering the racetrack. So they might be having some words between the teams, but they seem to be out of each other's way, and the battle for first in our GT3 class can now continue. As I see you have another yellow flag somewhere. I don't know if the cameras will be able to pick it up, maybe not, but as we look at this battle here, Brandon Kruger still leading, and Bernard Barkhuizen slowly but surely closing the gap. Not by much, but it's there. But now it's all about how can Bernard Barkhuizen hook up his entrance to Ascarik. Will he be able to carry much more speed through it than the likes of Brandon Kruger? He's brought the gap down. It's now from 5 tenths to 4 tenths and is dropping quite fast, being able to carry a lot more speed there, able to hook it up much better than the likes of Kruger, and just gets slipstreamed all along the back straight into Parabolica, just biding his time. He knows he's still got 21 minutes left in this race. He doesn't have to make a move now and use those tires. Be patient, spare the tires, and hopefully have enough life left in them to make a move at the very, very end. But all while keeping the likes of Brandon Kruger busy and making him use his tires. It's going to be a long battle.
It's going to be a very long battle, but unfortunately a very short effort for Paul Fenter. A do not finish. He hasn't come across the line. He's unfortunately out, as we do see contact between our leaders, and onboard footage shows there is no camera available while seeing the driver out there. Paul Fenter has exited the vehicle and will not be rejoining in the race. So unfortunately, our first retirement of the race is Paul Fenter on his maiden drive here in the Raceface.Pro, the Mar Ultimate Championship. As we see Bernard Barkhuizen and Brandon Kruger still fighting it out. These two are keeping it rather close, as the likes of Daniel de Villiers on the back of Nathan Watt. Viertia Buerta getting involved. This is turning into a difficult run. Viertia Buerta dealing with Daniel de Villiers, Dion Kopp, and Michael van Rooyen all on top of one another. Viertia leading out the 4-car train. Daniel de Villiers missing out a little bit of time there, and we see Michael van Rooyen and Dion Kopp keeping the pressure on the two of them as they continue their drive. Jason Luck and Mac Roth. Oh, as we do see contact, Luck loses it. He clips the rear of Roth. Roth goes off into the dirt after a little bit of wall contact there. Unfortunately, the rear slipping out underneath, and that's causing damage to both cars. Mac Roth's not going to be too happy, but nothing that Jason Luck could do when his luck all ran out.
Absolutely, unfortunately, a very bad accident there for a previous podium placer there in a form of Mac Roth there. But we turn our attention back to this fight between Daniel de Villiers and Viertia Buerta. Monster on monster, Ford versus Ford. Who's going to be the best Mustang between these two? It's going to be something else. I have spoken to De Villiers earlier this week, and he says he's missing his Mustang a bit. Oh, not Mustang, his Nissan. And he's trying to make it work with the likes of the Ford, as the Nissan, unfortunately, isn't part of WEC. But he says he's getting to grips with it. We'll see how that happens, but as now, it's a long drag down with 20 minutes remaining, and it's now there's two battles in one shot. Daniel De Villiers and Viertia Buerta, and behind them, we've got Dion Kopp and Michael van Rooyen. Front end versus front end in all of them, Stephen. Oh no, wait. Ferrari's mid-engine. Sorry.
Ferrari is mid-engine, wishing it was front engine. If you got a Ferrari with a front engine, then you definitely got it in the wrong direction. Our leaders of the GT3 still keeping on top of one another. Enco van den Berg dealing with Sean Loureiro for a bit of company as he tries to keep it towards the inside line. This is going to be a fight out for our hypercars, as we see Loureiro putting the hammer down in the top 5 at the moment. He's hoping to go and clutch that 4th place. But it's going to be a huge run for the two of them to get it all done and dusted. Oh, locking up the brakes, trying everything he can. Sean Loureiro leaving nothing on the table to catch up to Enco van den Berg. And that's got Lionel Klug going to be joining in for a bit of company as well, as they launch around the GT3s yet again around the outside. Very easy to do when you've got lots of aero, but you need to bring it as close to the right-hand side as possible. Try and open the corner up. Unfortunately, Lionel Klug was a little bit too far back to make it work for him and will compromise his drive as they launch their way around. Oh, and we do see Dennis Steenkamp getting caught up behind the GT3, trying everything he could to get past without losing too much time. Drivers really throwing these cars around, doing everything they can to make it work here at Monza. As we do see De Villiers, late dive into the likes of Viertia Buerta. As Chris Stills gets on by, that's brought Michael van Rooyen a bit closer for company. I mean, this is just an absolute battle between them, and everyone trying to do everything they can to bring it back towards the front end. That's 5 seconds off the likes of Blicknotes at the moment, trying desperately to get that 3rd place. It'll be his first time in a league podium. And what better way to do it on your birthday? Whoa, as we see De Villiers going over the curb. Vietia Buerta had to take evasive maneuvers. Michael van Rooyen getting caught out in the Concertina effect. And Dion Cup now looks around the outside with a Ferrari 296.
Yeah, absolutely. And not the best of moves there from the Villiers, which has bunched up this entire group now and has changed the likes of Vietia Buerta's decision and perspective of defending against the Villiers to attacking the Villiers and also defending the likes of Michael van Rooyen and Dion Cup. As that Concertina effect, as you mentioned, into turn 1 has brought them bumper to bumper and makes it difficult as Dion Cup tries to sniff on the inside of Michael van Rooyen, unfortunately not being able to find a gap, especially not into Lesmo 1, and hopefully just trying to stick behind close enough to get a proper run out of Lesmo 2 into the Ascari chicane and hopefully get a good gap, a good position there. But unfortunately, it seems like he's got a bad exit there. So look at the gap there increasing, but now into the slip he goes, full throttle all the way to the end, bringing it a bit down, but not significantly enough in order to mount an attack. Now, Daniel De Villiers and Vietia Buerta, these two are fighting out again. Vietia pulling it back from a bit back in order to get as close to Daniel De Villiers. De Villiers known for what they call the missile, not Daniel Kvyat, Daniel De Villiers, and living up a bit to that name. We've missed him, loved him, or sometimes not be a big fan of him, but really trying to fight it out as much as possible there, as Vietia is now again trying to take that closer line as discussed in order to get a proper run, running wide into the slipstream of Daniel De Villiers, but right behind him Michael van Rooyen into the slip, who is going to get a bit of bullet out of the way by the likes of a GTP Ferrari who flies past them. Now Daniel De Villiers having to make an option, hard on the brakes, the GTP right there, contact, and Michael van Rooyen making a move on Vietia Buerta. Vietia Buerta losing it, spinning onto the infield, and that is out. That has nothing to do with contact. That is all just spinning the tires too early on the throttle, and TC not being able to keep up spinning the car right way around. Michael van Rooyen saying thank you very much. Dion Cup saying thank you very much.
And Daniel De Villiers up into 5th place is going to be smiling ear to ear on that one as they continue the drive. Theo Gavasami battling out with Ulrich Diaga. Diaga out of the first of the McLarens has now got Theo looking towards the inside line. Going to be late on the anchors, trying to bring it through. Unfortunately, just couldn't stop the car as quick as he would like at that point. Now continuing on his fight through the order.
No papaya rules for these two McLarens. They're both red and not teammates at all. They are willing to fight it out tooth and nail. No rules, don't need to follow team orders. They are not part of United Autosport, which is part of McLaren or partially owned by Zach Brown. And now they can just fight it out. But it's also going to make it difficult with that GTP flying around the outside with another one coming up close behind them. Who is the GTP? Got to be brave. Okay, slots in between the two McLarens, brakes onto it. Oh, the GTP forgetting that he still has a slower class McLaren in front of him and needing to slow down more, losing a significant amount of time to the GTP in front of him.
Now that is Mark van Rensburg getting the pass done and dusted, losing out to Jody Seidman, who has had a clean run beyond the fact. So Mark van Rensburg is going to be just carrying on his drive. Daniel De Villiers also trying to utilize the drive out with the likes of the Hypercars coming past him. And he has got Michael van Rooyen putting a lot of pressure on him, Dion Cup as well.
Escape route taken there by Dion Cup as got a bit caught out by the braking of De Villiers and Michael van Rooyen there. But taking a look over to our GTP, Stephen, shocking story, Sean Loureiro with the Proton competition, Porsche, can't remember the number of it, all the way I believe from the back of the pack, yeah, that one, all the way from the back of the pack to 5th, keeping it clean, consistent, and just avoiding contacts here and there. As I look over to my co-commentator here, Stephen smiling a bit there with a bit of a smirk.
Now looking forward to seeing what Loureiro can do. Henke van den Berg has been battling with his rear tires. It's not as stable as you can also see in the background, the likes of Dennis Sterncup pushing harder and harder, and that rear starting to snap underneath him, diving into the dirt, but Jody Seidman started to close up that gap.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Steven. Jody Seidman really having to fight back after a bit of an abysmal start with contacts in the corners and losing it. So he is carrying some damage on the front end of that car already, as we see this beautiful Jota, well, not anymore, the Jota Hertz Porsche just bottoming out there on the back straight with the sparks flying out from underneath it. That's how low these cars are running in order to gain as much speed as possible for the Temple of Speed. That is what makes Monza so special.
Well, let's go through the running order of our top 5. Crystals leads out the pack of our hypercars, hoping to get a win here tonight. 25 seconds ahead of Nell in second place. Jeff LaRue runs in third place for the Ferraris. Henko van der Berg, a little bit further back, has got Sean Loureiro putting the pressure on him. Denny Steenkamp, Jody Sitterman, along with Mark van Rensburg, Lionel Klue, Brandon Grisel a little bit further back, trying to make his way through. Johan Kleinans is running out of our hypercars, but Henko van der Berg feeling that pressure from Loureiro. As we go to our GT3 class, however, it is Bernard Barkhuizen out in first, the likes of Brandon Kruger in second. Johan Blicknote runs in third place at current with the birthday boy himself, Nathan Watt, running in fourth place. No force feedback, and that is really, really well done. He has got Daniel de Villiers putting pressure to try and close up the gap. Michael van Rooyen and Dion Cup are keeping each other company for 6th and 7th. Virtia Berta in 8th position. 9th is Julian Brains, Ulrich Diaga, Theo Gavin Sami going and trying to make a run as likes of Ulrich Diaga having to take the escape road. This is going to be an opportunity for Theo. It makes it stick around the outside. Well done. Ulrich Diaga down into 11th position, followed by Rob van der Heever. Mac Roth, who we saw a little bit of contact early, dropped him down the order. Jan Erasmus down in 14th with Darren Miller and Jason Farmer. Rounding out our pack of GT3s, Jason Luck and the likes of Paul Fenter, unfortunately unable to see it to the line.
42 retirements for our GT3 field there, and not the race that the likes of Darren Miller would have wanted. Started quite high up in our GT3 pack, and unfortunately a bit of battling and a bit of contacts here and there dropped him all the way into 15th of our field. As you take a look at our GTPs for 4th and 5th, with the likes of Sean Loureiro fighting close with Henko van der Berg. Porsche versus Ferrari. It's the almighty Ferrari versus the non-factory Porsche. So now it's going to be like, who's got the best drive out of the corner, who's got the best aero package for the circuit, and who's got the best setup in terms of, and the most freshest tires between the both of them. As we go into the final 10 minutes of the race, the battles between everybody is quite close. As you take a look at the energy remaining, LaRue there, we're on the lowest of all our GTPs with a 19%, now 18%, while the rest of the field is either above 20% and some lingering of one remaining, with the likes of Steenkamp in 35%, just above the 30% there. Now, these drivers also need to remember, it's something they found out last week also, that if you have below a certain percentage of virtual energy remaining in the car, what's going to happen is you will be given a penalty, which will drop you far down the where your standings are, and is quite a hefty penalty that you don't want to pay in such a close-knitted championship where nobody's able to just run away with the trophy.
Yeah, well, this is where the pressure comes in with the hypercars. You have to constantly be on the button and try and figure out what you're going to do. That being said, GT3, different story. It is flat-out racing of what you got left in the tank for Bernard Barkhuizen and Kruger. They are hoping to continue on the drive between the two of them and constantly putting the pressure on one another. Michael van Rooyen and Dan Cup, same story. It's just a race to the end and just a fight for survival at this point to score the points, to move themselves up through the order. It's a bit of a lonely race, however, for the likes of Blicknote and Watts, as we do see one of the Ferraris taking a drive over turn one, and that was Erasmus just moving right out of the way, checking out of the fight. He's just letting the cars come through, rejoin safely, but he is stuck on the outside trying to get the drive back in.
Fortunately, I believe Erasmus, being one of our newer drivers and taking the words blue flags, respect them to heart quite nicely, and really just helping get out of the way of our closest battles, specifically the two for our GT3s, the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen and Brandon Kruger on screen there, and then also a little bit back between Cup and Van Rooyen. But the two here, I mentioned it earlier, Bernard Barker isn't really just biding his time behind Brandon Kruger. He was sitting there being patient, maybe sniffing for a move here and there, but now has taken the lead and trying to run away with it. But Brandon Kruger is hanging on to his coattails, not letting him have the opportunity to check out and have a victory at Monza. These two are really going to put on a phenomenal show in this class here, and in the meantime, Johan Bluchner just hoping, as there's the moment I've been talking about, commentators curse Brandon Kruger not being able to keep on close and just hits that curve a bit too much, launching him skywards and missing the exit of Ascari. That's going to drop him quite back hard already from a 0.3 gap to a 1 to a 1 or a 0.9 gap already. Now it's all the work of fighting it back, but I do believe that BMW has some front end damage. As we take a look at our GTP fights between 4th and 5th, Sean Lerera really sniffing and getting within half a second there at one point.
It's going to be an interesting time as we get closer to the end. And due to commentator's curse, I'm definitely going to buy you some smudge sticks. We do have LaRue, however, going off into the dirt. And that has brought this entire pack close together. So LaRue, who had a gap in 3rd place, went off in Lesmo 1. And now has got Henko Vandenberg and Lerera for company towards the final 6 minutes of the race. This is not ideal circumstances to keep the power on. This is not where you want to be, and especially with low amount of power, as we do see LaRue has got the drive at the moment, and this is going to be a tough time for the likes of Henko Vandenberg, looking, sniffing, hunting, battling for that pass. He is looking for that 3rd place. He wants to take the bronze. He wants to stay in the fight. Lerero wants to be part of it as well, as we do have another battle of likes of Mark van Rensburg and Denny Steenkamp trying to move their way through the order. LaRue able to defend, as we do see Sean Lerero trying to do everything he can. So LaRue holds 3rd, Vandenberg in 4th, Sean Lerero in 5th place, locking it up as they do get around the likes of Miller, who just mines out of the way, lets the drivers go on by, continue on their race, and will be keeping an eye on Daniel de Villiers having a fight with Michael van Rooyen up on the inside. The Aston Martin over the curbs and able to bring it back. De Villiers chops off the nose, bounces the car in the end. That's brought Cup into the mix as well. It is heating up all over the circuit at the moment. Closest battle, however, is in the GT3s. Daniel de Villiers, Michael van Rooyen, and Dion Cup on top of one another, as we do see de Villiers inside line holding it together. Michael van Rooyen around the outside. Oh, Michael's lost it. Michael's lost
and
it.
Dion Cup is spun around. Also trying to avoid him.
Dion Cup got the snap. He slid the car, and that is Vietia Burta saying thank you very much.
American ponies has proven to be the better ponies compared to the Ferrari's ponies, but that is not over yet for Dion Cup, as he tries to take a sniff on the inside, thinks better and rather backs out, slips in behind Vietia Burta and just sticks it there. But that just shows that going side by side into Parabolica is never the best, as Michael van Rooyen not losing just 1 position but loses 3 positions, all the way from 6th to 8th. To 9th. My math has almost failed me there. But now he has to go and fight his way back. All the work is done. 3 minutes and 35 remaining. Not enough time for him to fight back, to get behind Daniel de Villiers and undo the damage that he just caused upon himself by losing the rear by getting onto throttle too early. And to take a look back onto our 4th and 5th fights here between the likes of Henko van Berg and Sean Lerero in our GTP or Hyperclass cars. Lerero very hard on the brakes, closing it, but unfortunately that will kill his exit speed and losing drive out of the second chicane, and now has to work again in order to get close to the likes of that Ferrari of Vandenberg.
Trying everything he can to keep it all together. Drivers hunting down for every opportunity to move forward here at Monza for round 5. This is a 7-round championship. There is 3 rounds, including this one, to score points. It is up to you to make it work. And as we see, Vandenberg feeling the pressure, Lerero mounting on a massive attack onto the back of him, and wants to go and strip him of that 4th place as they charge through. They do see the likes of Van Rooyen's Aston Martin right ahead of them. Has to break through Parabolica. This is going to cost him time. Loureiro says thank you very much to the likes of Michael Van Rooyen, and now puts the hammer down, utilizing everything he's got, putting all the energy he can. Nell with 9%, LaRue with 5%, Van der Berg with 11%, Loureiro with 12% virtual battery left to make it work as he locks up the anchors, trying to bring it back. It is getting wild. Brain is having a bit of an issue with Mark van Rensburg going and locking it up behind him. Mark is desperate to get onto the back of this train as quick as he can. Brandon Kruger dropped a little bit down, and now Jan Blichnote sees him in with shots. So, Nathan Watt down in 4th place, 12 seconds off the back of them. It is going to be a massive run for many of these drivers, as we do see lockups all over the show. Drivers hunting for any opportunity. LaRue frantic, getting past the Mustang of Vietia Buerta. Now sees the likes of De Villiers, tries to go around the outside. Henko van der Berg a little bit far back. We'll look for a late dive as De Villiers goes center the circuit. He doesn't want to lose the drive. He doesn't want to lose his racing line. Loureiro has to go for the inside late on the anchors. That's going to make life rather unstable for the Porsche as we continue to see the fight out of the ponies. It is a Ferrari brawl at the moment. It is turning into a wild one. LaRue and Henko van der Berg side by side into Parabolica. This will be to start their final lap, I would think, as Chris Stoltz leads out the pack. Nell in 2nd. LaRue and van der Berg are fighting it out for 3rd place. It's our closest fight on circuit between all the classes. It is a race of nutrition. It is a race of who's willing to push it, as we see Erasmus gets off the power. He lets the cars come on by. Henko van der Berg couldn't quite get the drive. Loureiro lost time, and Mark van Rensburg wants to knock him out of the top 5. It is getting wild out here, Cam.
It's not over until the fat lady sings, Steven, and so far she has not sung, but the Italians have brought the fight for us here. But now we also have to keep in mind, Steve, what is going to happen with the batteries. We mentioned before, you mentioned previous races before, if you do not have enough fuel remaining, you do get penalized. As you see the likes of LaRue on 1%. Oh boy, Now has been able to just nurse his car.
If LaRue loses out that power, that's it. That would be him.
That's penalty. Is he trying to feel safe or trying to defend? Oh my. He was quite slow out of the second Lesmo there. That has allowed the likes of Henko to close right up, side by side into the Ascari chicane, and Henko van der Berg gets the move done beautifully. I think the likes of LaRue has just lost enough power. He doesn't have fuel to see it to the very end unless he gets penalized, and that is going to be much more costly instead of just trying to limp it home. He's got a gap of 2.5 seconds to the likes of Sean Loureiro. I think he's called quits and just said, that's enough. I'm going to throw in the towel for this one. I'm going to get this car across the line in order to avoid a penalty. But that has given Henko van der Berg the 3rd and final position podium as he crosses the line, as we see the likes. Oh wait,
that's the checkered.
Steven, hold up! Stop the clock! Hold the horses! No! LaRue has been disqualified!
LaRue disqualified for the power running out. So Stills, Nell, and Henko van der Berg come across the line. LaRue ran out of energy, and that was it. Sean Loureiro takes 4th. Van Rensburg will hold that 5th place. My, oh my, what have we just witnessed? What has just gone on? It has gone absolutely insane here at Monza, and what a drive through to the very end. Honestly, it was such an exciting time, and congratulations to all the drivers on a phenomenal race.
Absolutely, Stephen. We promised action, we promised drama, we promised thrilling end results. And the drivers have delivered. I'm tongue-tied. I'm even shocked. The likes of LaRue putting on a battle till the very, very end, and unfortunately just running out of fuel and not being able to finish and get disqualified. No points, nothing. That's it. Podium gone, 4th place gone, 1st place gone. You are dead last, son. You are not able to get to the end line. Really, really heartbreaking and gut-wrenching for the variety of LaRue. But as I don't even know. I can't get over it. We do know that Monza delivers drama, Steven. We do know that, and we were promised that, especially in this championship. It delivered.
I'm lost for words. I'm seriously lost for words. Crystals takes the win, but we got to talk about what happened there. LaRue had it all for a fight. He tried saving that final 1%. He knew he was on the ragged edge. He knew he was flirting for the limits, and that was it. 3rd place for the Hypercars, but congratulations to Bernard Barcase and Brandon Kruger in 2nd place, and Johan Blucknow taking 3rd of the GT3s. Crystals takes 1st of the Hypercars, along with Devot Nell and Henke van der Berg taking that 3rd place. It has been wild till the very end. And I've got to say, personally, phenomenal stuff. And honestly, coming in tonight, I thought, I'm not quite sure about this race. It's Monza. What can go wrong? Monza's just one of those tracks that you're not quite sure about, and it changed. The entire race just changed and flipped on its head in the final dying minutes, the 10 minutes of just amazing action. Well done.
We all know that Monza is just pretty much follow the leader. Not really, if you want to risk it, you go and send it into turn 1, but you risk damaging your car and throwing away your entire race. But they gave us a battle to the very end that I was standing in my chair, just staring at the screen saying, what's going on? And a heartbreaker as he crossed.
I want to stand in my chair. Yeah, no, I did. I would like to. I really would like to, but honestly, if I did that, I would be over the couch behind me just trying to process what is going on.
My brain still can't process what's going on, but it was a close battle, and as we were able to pull aside and get our podium finishes, first and 3rd of our GTP Hyperclass finishes. So, yeah, let's give in the lucky dog who was able to get that 3rd in the dying moments by pushing the likes of LaRue to the very end. Let's bring in the likes of Henke van den Berg. Well, as Steven would say, Thunderberg. Henke van den Berg, van den Berg for me Afrikaner side. Welcome to the commentary box. Coffee's on the side. Leave my Nescafe crema alone. You can get some of Steven's tea, but do not touch my coffee. Welcome. I'm joking, you can have some of the coffee. Welcome and congratulations on the 3rd position, or 3rd place in our GTP class. Take us through that final moment, please.
Thank you, Cameron. It was, all I can say, it was very hectic. I was pushing Jeff to his limits, and I didn't even see he was going to run out of fuel. So I was so focused on Jeff and Sean pushing me the whole race, staying 0.5 seconds behind me. So it was hectic.
So just tell us that feeling that you just experienced. You crossed the line, you knew you had 3rd, but then you look back and you don't see the likes of LaRue anywhere close to you. You see Lorero behind you. Tell us what went through your mind when you saw that scoreboard finally pop up saying you're 3rd, but the likes of the guys been battling for the final bit of race, unfortunately, gone.
Yeah, I was so happy coming in 3rd. I don't even have words for it. But yeah, seeing Jay fall back, that made me even more happy. But yeah, anyways, it was a very good race.
Well, I'm gonna throw it over to my co-commentator who was also just shocked as me, and hopefully by this time has picked his jaw up off the floor, and hopefully has some questions for you because I'm flabbergasted by that result.
Well, Henke, once again, congratulations, but take us through heading into turn 1. It looked a bit busy for you there. It looked like it was just nose to tail on the way through.
Yeah, turn 1 was quite busy. Jeff lost it, went sideways, everyone stood on their brakes. I went into, I'm not sure who, but I went into a Ferrari and I got some front damage, but other than that, everything went smooth through turn 1.
And
gained some positions there as well.
What was your game plan through the traffic? Because it looked a bit crazy. A lot of the GT3s were in their own battles. You had to be mining out of the way. What was going through your mind? What was the strategy there, considering you were in your own fight?
Honestly, I didn't have a strategy. I was just pushing my own limits through the GT3 and, how can I say it? Hoping Jeff and Sean will be held up by the GT3s, and just, I was held up a lot by the GT3s, but I made my way through them, and it was quite busy around Monza, I must say.
Still lots and lots of fun. Honestly, congratulations on your race. And before I let you go, to enjoy the celebrations after a seriously, seriously hard fight, anything you'd like to say to all our sponsors, to all the admin, the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, and I'm sure you saw it, just the passion, the love, everything coming off our virtual grandstands as everyone stood waiting for the excitement.
Well, firstly, I want to thank you guys for the commentary, and then I want to thank Chris as well, who's involved in this, and everyone in Raceface that held this league and made it possible. And then to our sponsors, thank you very much, and then to the people watching the live stream, and then you guys, thank you.
Honestly, great stuff, and well done on a stellar drive.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Cameron.
Going and giving us a bit of an insight there, but I believe you do have our race winner, Cam.
Well, we've got our Hypercar GT, or the GTP winner here, and with a absolutely dominant performance in none other than, once again, the Peugeot. And that is the likes of Chris Stolz. Chris, you keep on selling us a dummy here, man. You keep on saying the Peugeot will not be strong at this track, or it might not work out. Meanwhile, here you go, put on another masterclass and showing everybody that, haha, I'm pulling the wool over your eyes. Guess what? I'm going to win this. After a bad race at Le Mans, you have shown to be an unstoppable force in the final two races, well, not final two, in the last two races that we've had. Give us your secret, man. Are you running rocket fuel in that car, or have you put in a V12 or something in it? Because that's not how a Peugeot is supposed to act.
Thanks, Cameron. No, I mean, I genuinely wasn't very happy at Le Mans, and again at Monza, I knew the car would actually be strong here. So, yeah, it's the Peugeot has its strengths for sure, but now I'm actually not very happy with today because obviously got the win, but not in the way that I wanted. Obviously, with the incident with Jan on the first lap, you know, we're rivals, but first we're teammates and friends. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, and just really sorry for him. So yeah.
Well, you just lightly touched and mentioned it, and we caught it on stream there. The bit of contact that you unfortunately had with the likes of your teammate there, Jan Kleinans, is that something that will be discussed and will it be sorted out in the steward's room, or will that just something that be hashed out between teammates? Give us that. It's going to be championship impactful, or?
I mean, it is, of course it is championship impactful, so we'll discuss what we're going to do there, but there really isn't anything to discuss regarding whose fault it is. I unfortunately just misjudged. I thought I was past him and started opening up the corner because, again, the Peugeot straight line speed, I really need to maximize the corner exits, and yeah, I thought I was past him. I wasn't, and I just opened it up a little bit too much, touched him, and yeah, it's 100% on me. So yeah, it might be in going to the steward's office for sure. It would be deserved. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It obviously affects the championship, affected the race, affected the fun. So yeah, we'll see what we're going to do about that.
Well, I think it shows a great characteristic of you as a driver to go and say, well, you take responsibility for it, and also as an apology towards not only your teammate but also a friend there. But you mentioned the top speed of that Peugeot, and I do know that Stephen will be someone who would be wanting to hijack some of that speed for his racing. So Stephen, I'm going to throw it over to you for any questions that you have.
Oh, Chris, you know, take away from the impact that happened in turn one into lap one with your teammate, but let's take a look at the race at hand. Navigating through the traffic, you were the faster car, but you couldn't get off the gas. You were having a dominating lead, but that was only towards the later part of the race. Heading into the traffic of the GT3 for the very first time, considering how close and on top they were, and you were catching them through some of the worst corners. What was going through your head? What was the game plan there? And how were you able to manage traffic that you had to battle your way through?
I mean, the traffic is always, difficult and something you have to manage. I try and be patient where I can be. I learned long ago that it's better to be patient than to be in a wall. So yeah, there was some scary moments with the GT3s because they were having their battles. But all in all, it was okay. I don't think anyone. I think it's come a long way. From the first race, there was a lot of people that were being unpredictable and so on. But it's GT3s are doing really good. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. It looked scary at some points. There was a point where Barkhazen and Brandon Kruger were fighting on their way to turn 2, and they were side by side, and I tried to go past and got a wheel on the grass, and I really thought it was going to be the end there. So super fortunate not to have died there, but otherwise it was good.
Well, definitely helps you out in the championship. Before I let you go, I know that you're one of the admin that's going and racing, but anything you would like to say to your fellow admin out there, to all the sponsors of Raceface.Pro, but most importantly to the drivers, the teams, and the absolutely amazing virtual grandstands that were standing on the edge of their seats to see the Peugeot come across the line and see the Ferraris absolutely slug it to the end, the BMWs to get across the line. I mean, the grandstands went wild, and I'm sure you got to see it lap after lap.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's making this possible, to you guys in the commentary, to Bego who's doing the stewarding, and just everyone who's making this possible, the sponsors. Then I just want to say sorry again to Jan, to my teammate, and we'll see what happens next week and what we do. But thanks to everyone who's making this possible, and also thanks to everyone competing, because this is the first real season. This is our second Raceface LMU season, but the first proper one, and the turnout is amazing. Coming here, I think last season towards the end we had 10 people maybe racing, and now we had 30 people tonight on track. So it's really, really great to see. So thanks.
Delta Negative Crystals taking the overall win, and the win for our hypercars. Honestly, great stuff. But Cameron, that has unfortunately brought us to the end of tonight. Here at Monza, we say farewell to it, but we then move over to Fuji for round 6 next week. Tomorrow we got some racing coming up with our Assetto Corsa Competizione. There's still so much going on, but honestly, I'm blown away with this week's racing. It's been incredible. It's been exciting. Your thoughts?
Well, you summed up perfectly, Steven. Some phenomenal racing so far this week. So for our spectators, don't think that all the entertaining races has been over just now with this stream. Tomorrow we jump over to our ACC side with the likes of the fantastic Steven Koenig, and then also I believe we have another one joining. Another co-commentator, like of Liam Swinburne, who had made his commentating debut, I believe, last week. So if you want to find another hidden talent at Raceface.Pro, jump over and support that stream also. But also next week we're back. We're at the amazing Fuji with Toyota's home track, one can finally say, and it's going to be another interesting one. Quite tricky, fast flowing. Going to be an interesting one for me to figure out how that track works, even though I've raced it. It's going to be difficult for me to master it with the likes of the Toyota, but I'm eager to see how that car handles, as I've never driven it before. But again, from my side, Stephen, I want to say thanks to all our racers, our amazing supporters in the grandstand, and then also, you don't get enough love to you for managing the cameras for us, also giving me the opportunity to really present and commentate on such fantastic talent there, and then also to our phenomenal sponsors, Virtual Motorheads, Rhino Utility, SBR, and then also Simulator Cave for giving us this opportunity in order to really showcase the talent that we have here at Raceface. So from my side, I want to say thanks to everybody, and yeah, I'm looking forward for the next 2 races that we have remaining.
Well, that's it, and also a massive thank you once again to Logistical Nightmare Racing, and thank you for all the memories on behalf of Raceface. We would like to once again say thank you very much for all the memories, and good luck on your future endeavors. We're looking forward to seeing how the racing team goes, and we will be sad that the chapter of the LNR PC League now done and dusted. So on behalf of Cameron, the Bastos, and myself, we'd like to say thank you. and farewell. But that being said, though, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like always, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, and leave a like. But first, you got to subscribe to leave a like. That's the main thing. If you're unhappy, unsubscribe, but you got to subscribe first. But that being said, thank you very much to Cameron Bastos joining me in the commentary box. A big thank you to all our sponsors. A big thank you to all you in the virtual grandstands. We'll see you out in Fuji next week. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody, from the THT Productions booth.